friends, welcome to Get Your Play Online. My name is Michelle, and today for science we are going to be making popcorn dance. So of course I have my popcorn right here, and since our weekly theme is Carnival and Circus Week, I thought we could experiment with one of my favorite carnival and circus foods, which is popcorn. This is so classic and so yummy. So I thought it would be really cool to take one of those favorite carnival foods and turn it into a science experiment. So if you want to make popcorn dance with me, you're first going to need some dried popcorn kernels like this. They have to be flavor free. So this is what I have. And it's best if they come in like the big jar, not in bags. So we have dried popcorn kernels. We have baking soda and vinegar. And my vinegar is in this little glass jar because the only other one I had was like a huge jug. And so I thought it would probably be best to pour it in a smaller container for this experiment. After the baking soda and vinegar, we have some clear soda or a carbonated clear drink like a club soda or something like that. I have this can of 7-Up. And I have a bunch of water over here, so any container with water inside, or if you're next to your sink and you're able to fill up with your water from your sink, that's perfect. I have 2 glass jars or clear jars. You can also use big cups for this. And then I have a fork and a tablespoon measuring tool. So this is all the things that we're going to need to make popcorn dance. At the end of our experiment, we are going to make our popcorn and pop the kernels in the microwave. So please ask a parent for supervision when we get to the microwave part. And that's totally optional. But if you would like to do that along with me today, you will need access to your microwave, a microwave safe bowl, and a microwave safe plate. So let's go ahead and start our experiment. I am starting by getting my 2 glass jars and putting them on like a little tray because it might get a little bit messy. So it might be best to do this in the kitchen, but if you're sitting at a table like me, just make sure that your table is protected. So I have my 2 glass jars here. And we're first going to experiment with the baking soda and the vinegar. So the first thing we need to do is fill up our glass jars a little bit with some water. If you're using these mason jars like I am, these are the half-quart mason jar size, you can fill them up a little bit above the 200 milliliters line. So we really just want to be filling it a little bit more than halfway. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. This one doesn't require any water. That was my bad, friends. The second mason jar or container does not require any water. This first mason jar does require you to fill it up with water. And like I said, just a little bit more than halfway is going to be perfect. So now we're going to add some baking soda. And I'm using a 1 tablespoon measuring tool. And we're going to get a nice hefty scoop of baking soda and dump it into our water and stir. And you want to make sure you stir nice and long to make sure that the baking soda totally dissolves inside the water. Okay, now that we have our baking soda mixed into our water, it will be just a little bit cloudy. But just make sure there's not a bunch of residue at the bottom. I'm going to give it one more stir. Okay, now we're going to add our popcorn kernels. And we're going to put, well, you can put really as much as you like, but since I have a little bit of a smaller container here, I'm going to measure out 2 tablespoons of popcorn kernels. Just so we don't put way too much in our small container. So there's 1. There's 2. And you want to make sure that there's enough popcorn kernels to totally cover the bottom layer of your container, whatever you're using. If it's a glass jar, a mason jar, or a really tall cup, you want to make sure to add enough so that there's a good thick layer covering the entire bottom of the container. So I'm just going to add a teensy bit more here. All right. Okay, so the last thing we're going to add is our vinegar. And if you have done some science experiments with me before, then you know I love to use baking soda and vinegar to experiment with because it always creates such a fun reaction. So with today's experiment, we are going to watch the reaction between baking soda and vinegar and see how it affects the dried popcorn kernels. So let's take a minute to kind of just make a prediction and guess what's going to happen when we add our vinegar to the baking soda mixture. I think that it's going to fizz up a bunch, and I think it's going to make the popcorn kernels dance around a little bit because, of course, we are making popcorn dance here. But I wonder how exactly that's going to look. So we know that the baking soda and vinegar are going to react with each other, and we know it's going to make the corn kernels move a little bit, but I wonder exactly how that's going to look. Do you think they're going to move up and down? Do you think they're going to shake from side to side? I wonder what your hypothesis is. If you're watching right now, you can leave a comment below for me to see what your prediction will be for the popcorn kernels. How will the baking soda and vinegar reaction make the kernels move? So let's find out. We're just going to add a little bit of vinegar at a time so we don't make too much fizz and have it overflow. Whoa! Mine overflowed, but that's okay. Add just a little at a time, just like that. Okay, so I can already see that there's lots of little bubbles in my jar. They're very, very tiny little bubbles. And all these bubbles are like attached to the popcorn kernels. And let's see, what's going to happen? Every time I add more vinegar, they kind of bump up and down. Oh, there we go. There's some popcorn kernels moving. Keep adding some vinegar until you see something happen. Whoa, okay, so my popcorn kernels are going up and down, back and forth. They're like in a big clump, and then one of the kernels will drop to the bottom. That's so cool, wow. They just dropped to the bottom and then they floated back up. That's so neat. Let's add just a little bit more vinegar. All right, my jar is pretty full, so I'm not gonna add any more, but there they go. They're moving really fast now, up and down. That is so cool. You can see the popcorn kernels moving up and down and back up to the top. Whoa, they all went to the bottom and now they're floating back up to the top. And all of the popcorn kernels are surrounded in these tiny little bubbles called carbonation. So cool. I'm gonna add just the tiniest bit more of vinegar. Wow, they really go crazy and move around when you add more vinegar. That's so cool. And then they start moving around all by themselves. Very cool to watch. We are just making popcorn dance here with baking soda and vinegar. So it's the carbonation from the baking soda and vinegar that makes the popcorn kernels, first of all, float to the top, and then when they get too heavy from the carbonation, they drop to the bottom, and the carbonation brings them back up to the top. Wow! That's so cool to watch. There they go again. And they're floating back up and down. This is so neat. So the next thing I wanted to do is see if we can get this popcorn to dance with some soda, because it's the carbonation from the baking soda and vinegar, those little bubbles that it's making is called carbonation, and that is the reason that the popcorn is moving and dancing around. So I figured soda has carbonation. That's what makes it so fizzy. I wonder if soda will do the exact same thing to the popcorn kernels, because this is a really cool reaction that we're seeing. So let's move our baking soda and vinegar jar off to the side. And I'm grabbing my empty, clear second jar and my 7-Up that I have here. Like I said, you can use any clear soda that you have. So like a club soda or a Sprite works just as well. Alrighty, and we're going to add about the same amount. Wow, these popcorn kernels are still going. I hope you guys can see that on camera, but they're still going up and down. So we're gonna add the same amount of popcorn kernels, about, I think I used about 3 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to add our soda. But before we add it, let's make a prediction. Let's hypothesize. Do you think that the soda will have the same reaction on the popcorn kernels that the baking soda and vinegar did? I think it might. I think that the soda will have the same reaction because to me, it seems like the carbonation from the baking soda and vinegar is what's making the popcorn dance. So soda has carbonation. I don't see why it wouldn't have the exact same reaction. But let's find out and test our prediction. If you're watching this video and you want to make a prediction too, just leave a comment down below for me to see. Okay, so my prediction is yes. The Sprite will, or the 7-Up will have the same effect on the popcorn kernels because of the carbonation. Let's test it. So I can already see that my soda is very fizzy. It's fizzing up, it's fizzing up. And nothing seems to be happening. There aren't too many bubbles in this one. Even though the soda is like very carbonated, there aren't any really bubbles floating around. And it's really not having quite the same effect on the popcorn that the baking soda and vinegar had. If I move it around a little bit, excuse me, if I move it around a little bit, the popcorn kernels do fall to the bottom and they float back up to the top, but they aren't doing it all by themselves just from the soda. These popcorn kernels over here are still floating up and down all by themselves without me having to agitate or shake the mixture. So, unfortunately, my hypothesis was wrong. The soda does not have the same effect on the popcorn kernels as the baking soda and vinegar reaction. And let's put on our scientist caps one more time and let's try and explain why they don't have the same reaction. Both of the mixtures create a carbonation, but simply carbonating the water does not have the same effect. So my guess is that the reason the baking soda and vinegar makes the popcorn kernels react the way they do is because there is a chemical reaction happening. When the chemical reaction happens between the baking soda and vinegar, it agitates the water and attaches itself to the popcorn kernels and creates a continuous flow of carbonation. There really isn't much flow inside of the liquid of just the soda alone. So I would say that the conclusion here is the reason the popcorn kernels are dancing up and down is from the chemical reaction that happens between the baking soda and the vinegar. Very cool. So that was our dancing popcorn. And now I'm going to make some actual popcorn that you can eat out of our dried kernels that we just experimented with. So I'm going to take you guys to the kitchen with me and I'm going to show you guys how we can make these dried popcorn kernels in the microwave. So I've got my tray and we are traveling to the kitchen. This might be hard to do with just 2 hands. Here we go. All right, we're headed to my kitchen. Okay, friends, like I said earlier, if you're going to do this part along with me, you're probably, you're going to need the microwave. So please ask your parents if it's okay to use the microwave and ask them to help you out with it. All right. So here are the things that you're going to need in order to make your popcorn pop in the microwave. I have a little strainer, and I have a microwave safe bowl and a microwave safe plate. We're also going to need some paper towels. So I'm going to set some paper towels here off to the side. And now I'm taking my strainer and I'm going to pour the jars with the popcorn kernels through the strainer over the sink so that we can rinse them off and get all the stuff off that we were using earlier. So now I've rinsed my popcorn kernels. You want to shake them off, get all the water off that you can. And we're going to pour it onto the paper towel. And spread them out a lot so that the water gets off more easily. We want them to be as dry as possible before we put them in the microwave. Okay, so that was jar number 1. Jar number 2, we're going to pour right into the strainer and rinse. Oh, dropped a few. It's okay. All right. So we're going to pour these onto the paper towel as well. And we're going to spread them out and pat them dry. So we just want to get off as much water as possible before we stick them in the microwave. And friends, if you're making regular popcorn from these dried kernels, you don't normally have to rinse them. You can just take them straight out of the bottle they come in, stick them in the microwave. But because we got our kernels wet and they had vinegar and soda on them, we wanted to rinse them and make sure they are thoroughly dry before we pop them in the microwave. So I think these are pretty dry. We've got most of the water off. Now we're going to pour them into a microwave-safe bowl. And you can do that by grabbing the edge of the paper towel like this and then pouring into the bowl. All right, we are just about ready to stick these in the microwave. So when they go in the microwave, you're going to need to put something on top to keep all the kernels inside the bowl. So just put a microwave safe plate on top of your bowl. And then we're going to put it in the microwave for about 2 minutes. All right, and now let's clean up just a little bit while we're waiting for our popcorn to pop. So if you have any stray popcorn kernels, either save them for later or please throw them away. They should not go down your sink. And I'm going to rinse off the tray that I was using earlier because it got vinegar all over it from when I spilled. Now I'm just rinsing out the glass jars that I use so they can go in my dishwasher. And the strainer too. So I'm going to put these in my dishwasher, and you can hand wash them if you don't have a dishwasher. All right, all clean and ready to be washed. I'm going to throw away all the paper towels I used. Oh, I can already hear our popcorn popping. Wow, I wonder if you guys can hear that. Let's get a little bit closer. Okay, so Depending on the size of the bowl that you use, it's going to take a few minutes to pop. So let's go ahead and check on our popcorn. And if it needs a little bit more time, we can microwave it for 2 more minutes. And you're going to want to use oven mitts or a dish towel to remove this from your microwave because it's really hot. So please be careful and ask your parent or an older sibling for help. Okay, let's take a look. So, wow, that's hot. So be careful and ask an adult for help. We only have a few popped kernels in here, and I'm thinking it's because the kernels were still a little bit wet before we popped them in. So I'm going to remove the kernels that already popped, and we're going to put it back in the microwave for 2 more minutes, and hopefully that'll do the trick. So I'm just going to grab another bowl. And I'm going to remove the kernels that already popped so they don't get burned when we stick this bowl back into the microwave. Okay, those are all the kernels that had popped. These are going back in the microwave for 2 more minutes. And I could tell that the popcorn kernels were pretty moist and still kind of wet when I put them in the microwave, because when I took this plate off the top of the bowl, there was a lot of moisture and condensation on top. So hopefully the water has burned off in the microwave and they're more dry and ready to be popped. And that is the great thing about being a scientist, is that you can experiment and test things out. And it's okay if it doesn't go right the first time you try it. You can just try again and modify your test. So this is us trying again. We're going to see if 2 more minutes in the microwave makes some really yummy popcorn. And while we're waiting for our microwave to be done one more time, I'm going to keep cleaning up my area so that we can have a nice clean space and clean up after ourselves. So I'm going to take you guys with me as we clean up our science experiment. So I'm going to put these popcorn kernels back in the pantry. I'm going to recycle my aluminum can. I'm going to empty my water out, and I'm going to pour my vinegar back into the large bottle that we keep under our sink. And I'm also going to put my baking soda back in the sink. So let me get another tray. And I can hear our popcorn kernels popping in the microwave, so hopefully this time around they'll be all ready for us. Okay, let's head to the kitchen so we can finish cleaning up and then check on our popcorn. Wow, I hear lots of popping going on. I can't wait to check out our popcorn. I'm going to stop my microwave because it sounded like there were no more pops left, and I didn't want to burn my popcorn. So I'm just going to clear this space off really quick. and let's check out our popcorn. Remember to use oven mitts or a dish towel because it's going to be really hot. Wow, look at that, friends. We made some popcorn. That seems to be the perfect amount of time for our popcorn to totally dry out in the microwave and then pop itself. Let's try. It's a little dry because this type of corn kernels, they don't usually come with a flavor. So if you want to make it a little bit more tasty, you can add salt or maybe just a little bit of oil or a little bit of butter. I think that would be really yummy. So I'm going to add just a little bit of salt and then I will sign off for you guys. All right, my popcorn is ready to go. And I hope you guys had fun making popcorn dance with me during our science experiment and then turning those popcorn kernels into actual popcorn that you can eat. This was such a fun and delicious science experiment, and I hope you had a great time doing it. So have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys next time at Get Your Play Online. Bye!